Hey everyone, how's it going? Good to see you. I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final video in my PlayStation Experience review series. First one, I went over the keynote. Second one, I talked about the overall event as a whole. But this one, I'm going to be doing something that y'all have been asking me about. What are the games that I played? Yeah, I played a few games at this year's PSX. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to, considering, like I mentioned in the previous video, the way you played games was tied to the app and you had to be in a queue system. And when you have hundreds upon hundreds of people trying to get into a queue to play one particular game that has just 8 slots available at a given time, yeah, things didn't go over so well. But throughout the course of the weekend, I actually got a chance to play 3 major titles. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 3 games. So the 3 games that I played at this year's PSX were as follow. Firewall 0 Hour, I believe that's what the title was called. Detroit Become Human, and the big one that everyone's been talking about, Lost Souls Aside. So out of all the 3 games that I played at this year's PSX, I might as well start off with the one that no one really knows too much about, considering it was just announced the day prior, and that game is Firewall 0 Hour. Sony actually debuted this title at their keynote within the first couple of minutes, so that was very surprising that they had it out on the show floor. And that's something that I've noticed a lot about Sony. Unlike the PlayStation Move and PlayStation Vita, they are making PlayStation VR a big focal point of the future. They are definitely in it for the long haul, and it was so evident when you looked at all of their booths for the VR games. They had a metric crap ton, whether they were first party or third party titles. It was insanely cool to see that sort of thing there. Now the game itself is a cooperative tactical shooter. Think something like Rainbow Six Siege, but playing it in virtual reality. And this game in particular was my first extended experience playing a game in VR. I'm no stranger to PlayStation VR. I actually got a chance to play it when I was at my boy Tundex's crib, but since I was down there in Texas, there were other things we wanted to do outside of just sitting there and watching me play games in VR. So with this title in particular, I had a good half an hour to sink my teeth into it. I played a couple of matches of it, and you know, the game itself is still in pre-alpha. I don't think this game has more than maybe, you know, 8 to 12 months of development behind it. But for what they were able to execute with the game, I am honestly very surprised. This is exactly what I expected out of a cooperative shooter in VR. It plays just like you'd expect a shooter to play. So of course you can use your entire field of view to navigate. You can use the new aim controller to aim. Of course, that's your primary method of play. And just the things that you really take for granted when you're playing a shooter, such as the HUD map and everything. The way they put this on the game is that it was actually on your character's it was on their wrist. It was actually a radar there. So if you wanted to see where your enemies were when they were shooting, you were hearing bullets going around, you'd actually have to look onto your character's device, which was so unexpected. I don't know why I didn't think about doing that at first, because I was wondering like why the screen looked so barren. You know, there was no HUD, there was no ammo count on the screen. I was like, what is going on with this, man? It seems so bare bones. But then I realized that this is a different experience entirely than something I would play on a normal screen. They have to immerse you in the experience, and the way to immerse someone is to have less objects on the screen so you can actually be in that experience. And I gotta say, for what I played, it was freaking dope. I was talking to developers about why they wanted to go the VR route as opposed to making, you know, a cooperative shooter on the system, and they said that they were asked countless times, where's the next Call of Duty game on VR? Why aren't there any shooters on VR? And they just wanted to tackle that market themselves. So I'm very interested to see where this game goes. Hopefully with another year or so of development, it gets the proper polish that it deserves. Hopefully it gets a lot of modes and features attached to it. But for what I played with the pre-alpha, it was good. They just gotta iron out all the kinks that exist with early games in development and fully acclimating oneself to the virtual reality experience. Now moving from that to another title, Detroit Become Human. Now this one in particular was something that I honestly didn't feel the need to play because, you know, we've all played the Quantum Dream titles, we've played Heavy Rain, we've played Beyond, and out of those 2 games, Heavy Rain was the only one that I really enjoyed. Beyond, it wasn't for me, man. It just felt so weird and weird. Like, why does this exist? But I still have a lot of love for Heavy Rain and just the aspect of choice and the branching narratives that exist. To this day, I don't think anyone has done such a great job with branching narratives like Quantic Dream. I still remain to this day a huge proponent of that narrative of gameplay, and it's something that I wish the Telltale games would do more of. But that's neither here nor there. What did I think of Detroit Become Human? Honestly, I went into that experience thinking that, alright, this is just going to be another Quantic Dream game. And for the most part it is, but I gotta say, this is Quantic Dream at their very, very best. So if you loved the crap out of Heavy Rain, I think you're going to enjoy Beyond so much, because it's just that game on steroids. Just the aspect of choice that exists, it's like magnified 10 times with Detroit Become Human. And they've definitely done a lot to clean up some of the complaints from Heavy Rain, such as the wonky voice acting that existed and some of the visuals in that game. With Detroit Become Human, man, that is definitely going to go down as one of the best looking games of all time, man. Just the facial animations, the expressions, the attention to detail throughout the world, it's just unmatched, man. So on that front, Quantic Dream has definitely, stepped their game up. The demo in particular was kind of limiting, to say the least, because we were pretty much playing what they showed us. You can make some different choices that'll affect your probability of success. However, if you just go the standard route of taking it very slow, keeping your cool, you'll pretty much get 100% completion. But that wasn't the only demo they had at the event. My girl Red Infamy, shout out to her, she actually got a chance to play a different event at the Media Lounge, and with that, it was completely different than what we got to play on the show floor. There was so much that went into that demo that she says that if you played the standard demo, then you ain't seen nothing yet. So that definitely gets me excited for the game, and I'm so surprised because Detroit Become Human has kind of been at the bottom of my list for most anticipated PS4 games. It was just kind of there, like, yeah, it'll be a Quantic Dream game. We all know how they played. But from what I experienced, in addition to what my homie Red was saying, yo, Detroit Become Human might be a game to look out for. Now, the final game on the list that again took me by surprise, and I'm just still shocked to this day how the game performs, how it looks, how it even came into existence, is Lost Soul Aside. Now, this game might seem kind of unfamiliar to some, but if you saw that trailer last year, it was a game being created by one guy, and it looked like it could rival all the big AAA games. It looked like a love child between Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy, and after seeing the game a year later, now that the guy has been picked up by Sony and he has a development team behind him, it's just incredible how much progress has been made with the game. First off, the visuals are just out of this freaking world. This is rivaling Final Fantasy 15, a game that has the backing of Square Enix, a game that has been in development for almost 10 years. This game has just as good visuals, and the combat is so much better than Final Fantasy 15. It's like Devil May Cry at its very finest. Like being able to switch with the weapons, using the shoulder buttons, being able to connect combos with the weapons, going from one weapon to another. I was just so shocked at how polished the game was. Now, there are a couple of things that do need to be tweaked, obviously, since the game is still in development. But as it stands, I can't really find any faults with the Lost Soul Aside demo because it was such high quality. And again, it's just so like, wow, I can't believe this game exists, made by one person, and that vision is taken and it's just gotten so much better over 1 year of development with a couple more guys on the team. So Lost Soul Aside is definitely a game that I think a lot of people need to look out for. I think it's going to be the next big challenging game, the next Souls title, because when we were playing the demo, we were just fighting all the random enemies to get a feel from the combat. But once you get the boss, and you think you're winning against the boss, that's when this dude goes into his second stage. And yeah, a lot of people lost it when the boss went to his second stage because it's just so unexpected. Like, what do? I gotta learn. Oh my god, what's happening? Oh snap, I'm dead. Demo over, man. So here's hoping it becomes that next game that people want to play for its difficulty, man. And that was it for the games that I actually got hands-on gameplay with at PSX. However, I want to talk about all the other games that existed on the show floor. There was a metric crap ton of indie games there, so if you were a big fan of those, you could check those out. Like I mentioned earlier, the VR titles, being able to play Skyrim in VR, Doom in VR, that was pretty freaking dope. I definitely think that VR is a bigger presence now than it was last year when it first debuted. And then other than that, there were two things I found were really interesting. First and foremost, the entire Dreamz display that they had at PSX, man. Dreamz was a game that, honestly, until the weekend, I had no idea what this game was about. I knew it was a Media Molecule title. I knew it was going to be about creating stuff, but I did not know the extent of what this game would entail. Dreamz is a game about creating games. And when I mean it's a game about creating games, down to the minute detail. I'm talking about legit full-on game design. It's basically everything they did with Little Big Planet, but on steroids, man. Like, they had a full-on presentation demo that was running every single hour on the hour, sometimes more than that, where they had the developers come on stage and make different levels and show you just how deep and rich this system is, man. I'm not even joking. They actually set up this presentation. They were running it for 2 days straight, where you can just come and see what the game is all about. They even had beanbag chairs where you can sit there and relax and watch the gameplay demos. It was like a good 30 minutes it took them to make the game. But I was just so surprised with how deep it was, man. Being able to customize every single aspect of the game, adding in enemies, and the music aspect. They have a full-on audio editor where you can go record sounds, edit them. It's like having Audacity in a game, and I'm not throwing around that program lightly. I'm serious about that. Like, it is so deep, it is so rich, and again, it's so out of this world, like WTF. So this is what you guys have been working on throughout the past couple of years, and I am sure that we haven't even, scratched the surface of what Dreamz is, because they were just showing off what you could do making a simple platform level. But that's not all you can do in Dreamz. You can do so much more. So I'm pretty sure that as the months roll on, we're going to see more and more about Dreamz. But I implore you, if you haven't already, go check out gameplay for Dreamz. It's definitely something you need to see to get a full understanding of, because they haven't done a really good job explaining what the game is until this year's PSX with that demo. And the last game that I want to draw y'all's attention to is Shadow of the Colossus Remake. Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite games of all time. It means so much to me. Played it on PS2, played it on PS3, and to see it just come back, at first I was like, okay, it's another HD remaster. We've played so many of these games before, but no, it's a full-on remake, man. They've gone above and beyond to give this game the proper treatment it deserves. And the game is so much better for it. Shadow of the Colossus was a game that was ahead of its time. And to this day, I still think it's one of the best looking games of all time. Whether you're playing it on PS2 or the upgraded PS3 version, you're getting a phenomenal experience. And on PS4, the game is just glowing. Like, not to sound corny or cheesy in any way, but that's the best way I could describe it, man. Just watching how beautiful the game is nowadays with modern hardware is just... it's an experience unlike any other. And if you're playing it on PlayStation 4 Pro, they have a 60 frames per second version, which is just wow, man. Now, in terms of what they're going to be adding to the game outside of the visual improvements and the gameplay tweaks, I don't know. I really love if they included some of the unused Colossi, because if you look at the history of Shadow of the Colossus, there are a lot of things that did make it into the game due to developmental time issues and whatnot. So I think that would be very cool for them to do. I think that requires going back and making new assets for the game. So it probably will take a little bit longer. So that's probably why they didn't do it. But as it stands, man, Shadow of the Colossus PS4, $40 on release, coming out in February with the special edition that's only $10 more. You can definitely sign me up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up my game experience at this year's PSX. There were definitely a lot of games that I could have played, a lot of indie titles, a lot of AAA games, but for the most part, I pretty much have a good understanding and grasp of what those games are going to play like Yakuza 6, for example. Even though it's running on a new engine, I know it's going to be a quality Yakuza game for the most part. And yeah, everything else I could just play when the games come out, since stuff like Monster Hunter World are going to be out at the end of next month. So why would I sit online for 3 hours to play the game? You know what I'm saying? Especially considering the beta was out this weekend during PSX. So yeah, man, like if I wanted to, I could have played it when I got home, but I didn't. So Maybe in hindsight, I should have waited online at PSX. Anyways, that is neither here nor there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video and supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. From me to you for now, my name is NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.